monkeys, wild boars, nilgais are now destroying fields of farmers, leading to huge distress. The question I have for you today: has our success to conserve and protect wild animals now reached a point of crisis? Is this sustainable? Because if wild animals destroy farmer fields and make them so desperate that they literally have to leave farming, will this not lead to anger against conservation? So what must be done? In this context, I argue that India's wildlife policy is tone deaf. It is out of touch with reality, and this will be self-destructive. I am Sunita Narain. This is my show. Thank you so much for watching me as I explore new issues with you and look for solutions that we must adopt so that we can change the world together. In this episode, I want to discuss an inconvenient reality, which is little discussed in our world today. Wild animals, which as you know are protected by law, rightly so, are destroying crops and adding massively to the economic losses of farmers. In fact, in many parts of the country, farming is fast becoming unviable because of wild animal attacks. In almost every region of the country, there is a war today. Big mammals, tigers, elephants, and leopards, but also wild boars, nilgais, other ungulates, and most damaging of all, monkeys. They are in the fields of farmers. This is a fact, and one that we are not willing to discuss, let alone resolve. The conservation community, of which I am very much a part, would like us to avoid this discussion because for them, and rightly so, it is about protecting wild animals. And if there is a conflict, the fault is at the doorstep of humans. And we know that humans are destroying habitats of wild animals and doing much more to make these creatures of the forest to move out in search of easy food and prey. It is also a fact that this conflict, in part, is because of the success of our wildlife protection efforts, which have led to an increase in numbers. But my argument is that this cannot be an excuse to look away from the desperate plight of farmers who are today bearing the brunt of these attacks. This is not right. We need answers. However, this search for solutions will only begin when we agree to confront this problem. Currently, we want to brush it under the table because it hurts the poor. It is easy to do so. But take a look at the 2025 report on the estimation of net agricultural losses in Maharashtra by the very respected Pune-based Kokle Institute of Politics and Economics. This is perhaps the only report of its kind, and its findings are stark. The net agricultural loss in Maharashtra is between rupees 10,000 to 40,000 crore annually. And this, the report itself says, is grossly underestimated. What is worrying is that they found 62% of the farmers had reduced their cropped area because of animal attacks. The farmers they interviewed listed crop damage due to wild animals as their key problem after unseasonal rain and low price for produce. 1/3 of the farmers said crop damage because of wild animals was the key reason for their loss of income. And we know farmers in India are already struggling because their livelihood is becoming unviable. This is adding to it. The 2021 report by researchers from the University of British Columbia in Canada and the Center for Wildlife Studies in India found farmers in Karnataka would lose as much as 1 to 3 months of their income each year because of wild animal raids. A single elephant interaction. Interaction is a polite way of saying an elephant in the field of farmers would cost the farmer 20% loss and above. A 2025 report from Kodagu district in Karnataka found that close to 50% of the farmers surveyed incurred losses as much as rupees 90,000 per year, which then pushed them into debt. The Forest Department of Himachal Pradesh has estimated annual losses add up to rupees 500 crore, but if indirect costs of what is done by farmers for fencing and other protection measures are included, it could go up to rupees 1,500 crore each year at the very least. This is again confirmed by a 2026 study in the Western Ghats of Tamil Nadu, where researchers found 90% of the farmers identified that wildlife conflict was their primary risk in terms of production. It found a staggering 50 to 60% of the crops were damaged, primarily from wild boar, peafowl, and elephant attacks. Down to Earth has now conducted investigations from across the country, and this story is repeated every time. A story of loss of income, of livelihood, and greater indebtedness. So this is a cost to the economy of the poorest people, and it cannot be acceptable. We cannot do conservation on the backs of the poor of India. The question, therefore, is, and that is the big question, what needs to be done to rebalance this relationship? Establish some coexistence between animals and humans. Let me put it very bluntly. The Indian government response to this crisis is currently either slow, it is confused, and I would argue even dismal. The only good news is that the government has at least accepted that there is a crisis. As of June, July, Kharif season, so Kharif in India is the season for planting of farmers, which is done during the monsoon, the summer and the monsoon period. The government has included animal-related losses in the National Crop Insurance Scheme, which is called the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, PMFBY. Under this scheme, farmers have a 72-hour window to report the loss, which then will be verified using drones and insurance payment made. It remains to be seen if this will work, given that the crop insurance scheme already has existing flaws. And the question will be if farmers will really be able to use this now to get some compensation. There is very little else that has been done. In fact, for the rest, the responsibility has been shifted to the states. States have compensation schemes, and payouts have to be made to farmers when they say that wild animals have attacked and destroyed their crops. But as the Gokhale Institute report found, that even when roughly 25% of the farmers affected by wild animal attacks demanded compensation, only 1 to 2% actually received the compensation, which was commensurate with the damage. Most farmers did not know about the scheme or could not handle the many complex bureaucratic procedures that would be required to get compensation. As a result of it today, farmers are in trouble. They suffer, and even if wild animals destroy their crops, they can do nothing, as the wild animal is protected and killing is prohibited. The latest flashpoint has been in the state of Kerala, which is not just a battle between humans and animals, but has literally deteriorated into a battle between the central government and the state government. Under Section 62 of the Wildlife Protection Act, Only the central government has the power to declare a wild animal as vermin. When you declare it a vermin, it allows the forest department to then selectively shoot and cull the animal. The central government is reluctant to do this, even for specific animals and for specific states. So the Kerala government in 2024 issued its own wildlife protection bill. It declared wild boar attacks as a statewide disaster and so declared wild boar as vermin. But this bill has not been yet accepted as law because the state's governor has not forwarded it to the president for clearance. After 2 years, in February 2026, the state's governor has agreed to forward this bill to the president for clearance. Now, let's also be clear, this bill does not automatically mean that farmers can now go ahead and kill wild boars. What it has done is to devolve the power to licensed shooters who can be called upon by panchayats to cull the animal. On the other hand, and this is why I call the policy tone deaf, there is a late 2025 decision of the National Board of Wildlife to reinstate protection for the monkey as a Schedule 2 animal. Now, this means that culling is difficult. This change was made because of demands from the animal rights groups, but it ignores the fact that even forest departments agree that monkeys are a menace, and as yet every effort to control their population through sterilization has not worked. This is why I say this is tone deaf. This is out of touch with reality. And let's be very clear, in this approach, we will only have more conflict, not less. And at the end, this is not good for conservation or for farmers. So let's remove the taboo on this sensitive subject. Let's discuss it so that we can find answers. It is in our interest, in the interest of protecting wild animals, we have to make sure that the brunt of this is not borne by the poor in our country, that is the farmers.